It's about time. I finally get to talk about one of my favorite games of all time, Monado, Beginning of the World. Just kidding! That's the game's original title. I'm talking about Xenoblade Chronicles. If you read the title, you know! This game is a JRPG made by Monolith Soft and released in 2010 in Japan and then 2012 in America. I couldn't be more happy talking about this game as its real-time combat system is absolutely incredible, as well as the characters, stories, and overworlds. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to hear a man gushing about a blonde-haired wielding swordsman and his crew. Get ready to feel the wrath of one of the best RPGs of all time. Let's review 2010's Wii classic, Xenoblade Chronicles.
Now it's rhyme time!
A little bit about myself. I love RPGs, okay? I love getting immersed into stories, especially video games, as they're usually longer than any other type of media. Pretty sure you never read a 20-hour-long book.
This is bad.
I haven't talked about role-playing games on my channel yet, really. Mario + Rabbids doesn't count. But this is definitely my favorite genre of games, from things such as Skies of Arcadia to even this game's sequel, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, actually being my favorite game of all time. They're great. However, let's get back on track. Xenoblade Chronicles' best feature is its story, so I hope I can do it justice while trying not to make this video 200 hours long.
Just now, it was as if I could see into the future. Is this another power of the Monado?
The story. The world of this game takes place upon two dead titans, the Bionis and the Mechanis. They were locked in a timeless battle until one day it stopped. Since then, life forms have been residing on each of these titans, and they have also been locked in a battle. See where this is going? This game actually starts at the Battle of Sword Valley, the Hom's last stand against the Mechon. Homs? Mechon? What the fuck? Homs are just humans, except their names sound cooler. And Mechon are like robots, except they can only be damaged by the sword of the Bionis, the Monado. The man that was wielding the sword in this war was Dunban, accompanied by his good old buddy Dixon and the asshole Mumkar. Like seriously, why do you hang out with this guy? The Homs won the battle, but at the cost of many lives, including Mumkar and Dunban's right arm. The Monado's power is just too much for him to handle. This sequence ends the prologue, and we get to see the real main character, the lovable nerd, Shulk. So Shulk, you know, he's some guy with drip chillin' after digging through some scrap metal until he obsesses over a 69. Then boom, a Mr. Krabs threatens to kick his fucking ass like he's some kind of squidnator. And like the ex machina that he is, Ryan comes over to save the day and gives Shulk a lecture about how he's too frail to be walking around by himself like some kind of aggressive father figure, even though they're like the same age. As you make your way back to Shulk's hometown, you can familiarize yourself with the combat system and realize how great the game's soundtrack is. Just take a listen. It's a fucking banger, dude. Once you come home to Colony 9, Shulk and Ryan split up to do their normal everyday task, like how Ryan is in the military, and Shulk works in the lab studying the Monado. Yes, the Monado! Oh, where was I? Yes, anyways, Shulk works in the lab studying the Monado with Dixon, who he views as his father figure. This is because 14 years ago, the Monado was discovered by a batch of Homs who were actually found dead by one man, that being Dixon, except there was a child in that one room that was still alive. A young Shulk. So this is where we are now. Shulk goes to spend some time outside to the lab to prevent himself from looking so pasty. And meanwhile, Dunban's little sister gets introduced. the kind and innocent Fiora. Fiora is Dunban's caretaker now, because of what the Monado did to him during the war. But Dunban is the only guy that we know that can actually use it, so it's not like he has a choice. Fiora delivers the food to Shulk as they chat and reminisce about the past, until some debris fall from the sky, and the anti-air batteries surrounding the colony blast it to bits. That's a warning sign for sure. Back in the lab, oh my god, Ryan, what are you doing? He was touching the Monado and, well, basically taught him a lesson. This is where we learned from Shulk that the Monado can't hurt people. Basically only monsters in the life forms of the Mechonis. But Ryan's innocent. He was only there because he just needed to ask Shulk a favor about gathering ether cylinders. After this mission is where the game changes, however. And it's really a life-changing moment for everyone involved. The Mechon's evasion of Colony 9. Shulk, Ryan, and Fiora come back home after getting the ether cylinders to Mechon absolutely demolishing their hometown! Killing and eating? What? Okay, so Mechon eat people. That's very good to know. Fiora goes to find Dunban so that he can get the Monado, while Shulk and Ryan just try not to die.
We're locked!
They get tuckered out only by fighting one single Mechon. Even gameplay-wise, you can tell that this is bad. The only way to damage a Mechon without the Monado is to topple it. Once they realize that Dunban isn't home, their only hope of survival is to go to the lab to get the Monado themselves. The game even tells you that running away is a viable strategy, which, to be fair, is the truth. You'll be doing that a lot in this game. Mechon terrorizing and killing everyone, and even dispatching the military. It's a traumatizing experience for the party members, and even my first time playing the game, I was surprised. There's even a metal-faced Mechon with big, meaty claws! He's the real threat around here, and you'll see why shortly. Other than the fact that he basically blocks the fucking way to the lab and he kicks the Colonel's ass, so yeah, we're fucked, right? Fiora goes to get the mobile artillery in order to fend off these fucking things and leave the big boys to hear, well, another agonizing fight until Dunban comes by saving the day. He's back and wielding the Monado in everyone's time of need. Shulk, Ryan, and Dunban go try to meet up with Fiora until something happens. The Monado gets sick of Dunban, leaving Shulk with no choice but to grab it and use it himself. Shulk sees something, a prediction of what's to come if he doesn't do anything. He can see the future. He's the chosen one. So now that Shulk finally wields the Monado instead of that fucking junk sword, I mean, come on, dude. At least Ryan uses a big-ass shield blade thing, and Dunban pulls out his sword out of his ass, you know. Shulk gets the Monado, but right here, at this very moment, the three men stand face to face with the face. This is basically the climax of the prologue of the game. The Monado can't cut this thing for some reason, and it's fucking their shit up. The player is then let off with a cutscene that is, in my opinion, the best cutscene in the entire game. It sends chills down my spine every time I watch it. Fiora comes in the mobile artillery, trying to fend off the face, but as this is happening, Shulk sees a vision of something that he really did not want to see. Fiora's death. Completely immobilized by Metalface's claws, Shulk cries out to Fiora, telling her to stop and run, but to no avail. The Metalface Mechon gets the best of her and stabs her straight through her gut. Fiora has died, and the game has changed forever.
I'll kill you!
For what I assume to be the next day after the tragic event, Shulk sits at his lonesome, completely distraught. I mean, you can only imagine how Dunban feels. That's when Ryan comes by, like the best friend that he is, and cheers him up. Shulk is ready for payback. He wants to destroy every single Mechon. His thirst for vengeance is strong, and with the Monado in hand, him and Ryan set off, with Dunban looking in the distance, speaking to himself that one day he will join them when he can. Okay, I know, it's a revenge plot, but that's basically how you can describe this plot in its simplest form. There are many twists and turns and new people Shulk and Ryan meet, such as Juju. But jokes aside, everyone has a reason for doing the things they do and why they joined the party. Like Sharla, the sharp-shooting healer, who really misses this dude Gato. Dunban wasn't lying when he said he was going to join them, so that's pretty cool. He's here as well. The mysterious Melia, who we learn is from a civilization called the Hyentia, takes a lot of time for her to join the party permanently due to royal duties. Hyentia are basically Homs, but they have bird wings. Ricky the Nopon, he is in major debt, and he's basically forced to join the party in order to pay that shit off, because I mean, my man has a whole family. And yes, Nopon are basically just like these fucking furball things. They're cute, but also they're greedy little bastards.
Right in the... Take this, furball!
Last but not least, huge spoilers by the way, like you gotta click off this fucking video if you haven't played the game. Even though Smash Bros has spoiled this shit already. Fucking Smash Bros. Fiora, in a Mechon body, as she's been recovered by the machine people, the Machina, and worked on to preserve her body and life as well.
Excuse me, we ordered room service an hour ago.
Now that's comedy.
The gameplay. I can't go over the entire story. You just gotta play the game yourself if you only see the bigger picture. Even though I'm gonna review the climax anyways. Xenoblade Chronicles, as mentioned before, is a real-time combat RPG that lets the players roam around massive worlds, collect shit, do side quests, and of course, fight enemies and level up. Each character can do something called auto-attacking. When you aren't doing anything in the fight, the character doesn't give a shit, they're gonna attack anyways. The character will still attack the targeted enemy. Seems pretty basic, right? Well, that's where you're wrong. It's not super complicated, but you have to do way more in a fight. You see that pout down there? Well, these are arts. You can activate an art by pressing the A button after selecting one. Duh! Each character has their own arts and they do different things. Positioning of your character in other circumstances can increase the damage of said arts too. Red arts, for an example, are primarily physical attacks, while purple arts are primarily ether-based. Ether is like energy. Heck, all life on Bionis is basically composed of ether. Pink arts are where the fun begins. Pink arts inflict break on your opponent. Break is a status effect that allows you to use green arts to topple the enemy. This is how we fought the Mechon off before Dunban saved our asses. Once the enemy is toppled, it is completely immobilized. You can even do more damage by using a yellow art to daze the enemy. When the enemy is dazed, you can't miss attacks. They're completely vulnerable. This break topple daze combo is called a driver combo by the Xenoblade community because Xenoblade 2 actually calls this shit that first, as there are more stages to that, but oh man, just you wait, I'm gonna fucking nerd out on that game in the future. Blue arts are the healing and support arts. And last but not least are the orange arts. These are auras that buff the characters that use them. You may have noticed the big old gray art in the center of each character's attack palette. That, my friends, is the talent art. Each character's talent art is vastly unique from the other. Shulk's talent art is activating the Monado, allowing him to use Monado arts. Monado arts basically being overpowered, ranging from using beneficial effects like speeding up the party member or shielding us from danger to offensive techniques like Monado Buster and Monado Eater. I don't want to go over everything because that would just take forever and editor me doesn't want to die. But each talent art suits the character in question well, except for Charlotte because, well, her talent art makes a good character a shit character in combat. She has to stop whatever she's doing to cool off her rifle. She's the dedicated healer, but I mean, that's how the game's gonna treat you. No spamming arts for you, Charlotte. The talent art can be filled up by auto-attacking. It's pretty simple. Shulk is the attacker who can do mad damage to enemies. Ryan is the tank, except he can also do mad damage to enemies. Ah man, you can never go wrong with some Ryan time. His talent art is called the Mad Taunt, which does what the name implies. It forces the enemy to target you. Dunban is the evasion tank. He relies on having the enemy target him, but instead of taking the hits, he dodges them to keep himself healthy. His talent art is Blossom Dance, basically a strong offensive art that gets really fucking strong in some situations. Chain attacks. Ricky is a magic user. He and Melia both actually specialize in purple ether arts in order to make damage over time effects for your enemies. And both Ricky and Melia are just precious. Ricky's talent art is the Yoink. He steals shit from enemies. This can include XP and AP, AP being used to level up arts. Melia's talent art is Elemental Discharge, where she can launch any summoned elementals at her opponents. And when you summon these elementals, they can provide beneficial effects before you discharge them. Fiora is also an attacker, but with a lot of cool gimmicks, and her talent art is fully customizable too, ranging from gun drones to sword drones and, well, a lot of shit. The last thing I want to mention about the combat is definitely the foresight mechanic. You can't talk about Xenoblade without mentioning Future Sight. When an enemy is about to do a devastating attack, Shulk will get a vision for it. This gives the player time to prevent it and change the future. I can go more into depth about the combat system, of course, but there are other videos that you can go watch that do that job for me. But honestly, excuse my language, the gameplay is poggers, okay? There needs to be more action RPGs like this. Oh yeah, I also forgot to talk about chain attacks. You know, when your party gauge is full, you get to destroy your enemies by chaining arts together and multiplying your damage. I can't wait to talk about the world because how beautiful it is. So let's just get right to that, shall we?
Screams were music to my ears. My claws slid right through her soft flesh, like a hot knife through butter.
Fuck you! You fucking dick!
The Worlds, or Titans in this case. The Xenoblade series has probably some of the weirdest fucking worlds you will ever see in a video game. I mean, come on. In this context, that's definitely a good thing. Xenoblade Chronicles has many different landscapes for you to traverse through, and I would argue that every single area has great plot significance, from the Bionis Knee all the way up to inside of the Mechonis. Some areas are gargantuan in scale, while others are linear. I know quite a few people may not agree with me on this statement, but I enjoy the linear areas just as much as the open areas, okay? Because they offer a nice change of pace to the whole experience of exploring. Because in the linear areas, there isn't a fucking macho gorilla man at level 81 threatening your grandpappy when you're only like level 14. Damn over-level unique monsters. Anyways, the Titans in Xenoblade feel so alive, despite them literally being dead. The Bionis leg is that one stage from Super Smash Bros. I mean, come on. But in all seriousness, Gar Plains is the peak of Xenoblade world design. Even the music is fucking amazing. I would like to define other open areas such as Satoru Marsh. Boring during the day, but beautiful during the night. Magna Forest, which is the Forest of Nopon. Probably my favorite daytime overworld theme in the game. There's also humongous over-leveled enemies here, but I mean, they can be easily avoided. The Aerith Sea is, well, a sea, with lots of floating islands, so no shit it's a huge open area. Heck, you'll miss like 90% of this area if you just follow the story because of how huge this is. Valak Mountain is another highlight because it also looks beautiful at nighttime. The last open areas that I would like to consider, open areas, is the fallen arm of the Mechonis, where a whole bunch of vegetation has grown, and where the last of the Machina live. You remember, the machine people? And that's literally not even half of the worlds. There's just so much to this game, so many places to explore. The more linear areas are unanimously agreed upon to be boring in comparison, but they are still fun to traverse through, at least to me. All except the Ether Mine. Fuck that place. It doesn't help that there are Mechon everywhere. Speaking of Mechon, the Mechonis has a whole bunch of areas too. There's Mechonis Field, which has my second favorite overworld theme in the game. And another favorite of mine is Agnirtha, which is where the Machina originally lived, before the Telethia attacked. The Telethia being life forms that the Bionis produced, that are supposed to attack and kill life in order to bring energy back to the Bionis. If you couldn't tell by this information, the Bionis seems like a pretty bad dude, and to be more specific, worse than the Mechonis in comparison. And nobody realized this until the Climax. The climax of the game fully reveals the two gods that were using the Titans as vessels originally. Lady Mayneth is the goddess of the Machina and the Mechonis itself. She was actually inside of Fiora's body since her conversion to a Mechon body. This, by the way, is because harms were put inside of faced Mechon, so they couldn't be damaged by the Monado. So yeah, that asshole from the beginning of the game, it's Mumkar. But don't worry, he gets what he deserves. Since the beginning of the game, Shulk got the Monado souped up thanks to Zanza, the god of the people of the Bionis and the Bionis itself. Zanza's actually a huge prick, while Mayneth is actually a good person. This conflict is what started the whole Titans fighting centuries ago bullshit. The twist here is that Dixon is actually a dick, and that Zanza was inside of Shulk the whole time, regaining strength. which is why he could use the Monado in the first place. This all may sound random, but seriously, go play the game for yourself, then you'll actually see all the foreshadowing and the future visions and stuff like that. Dixon is Zanza's disciple, explaining why he went to discover the Homs that got killed by the Monado's power in the first place, so he could find that Zanza's a new vessel. Zanza was also possessing the giant that gave Shulk the Monado too.
In order to perpetuate the existence of his soul, Zanza inhabits beings of Bionis. But you appear to be different.
What do you mean?
I can see it. How well you retained a sense of self. Perhaps you can break the curse of Zanza. And was that not precisely our wish, Lady Mayneth?
I don't know much about any curse. For now, all I can do is this, Egil. We can live in peace again.
Now that we're all caught up to this very moment, who is that guy that Shulk is about to shake his hands with? That's Egil, the self-proclaimed leader of the Mechonis. He's basically the main reason we're all here. His story is actually very similar to Shulk's in that he seeks revenge for the people of Mechonis, as the Bionis a long time ago has pillaged and killed all of his people. Well, most of them. Remember, the rest of them are living in the Fallen Arm. So in reality, these two characters are basically the same, and now they're finally putting their differences aside after basically a whole half-game conflict.
I see. Yes, you're right.
No!
Dixon? You shouldn't have done that, little brat.
The Bionis starts moving again because Zanza is taking control of it. Shulk is basically half dead right now, and Fiora Manus is fighting with Zanza while the Mechonis is basically getting bodied by the Bionis. The party really doesn't have a choice but to retreat back to the Bionis after Maneth gets defeated by Zanza, losing her godly powers as a clutch. So the Mechonis is basically fucked because, well yeah, and this turn of events is so amazing because this whole time as a player, you thought that the Mechonis was the enemy, but in reality, the Bionis the whole time was the real bad guy around here. Hell, the Telethia come in and rain in our parade. And it's revealed that the Hyentia turned into the Telethia, which does kind of make sense to be honest. It was even foreshadowed a bit too. Some Hyentia knew of this of course, so they sought to make half-breed Homs. So in the sense that half Hyentia Homs don't have that gene to transform. And it's only when a Hyentia is exposed to high concentration of ether, folks. Not a Pokemon thing, but this is where we get to talk about Melia again because she is a half-breed. And also the crown princess of the Hyentia. I forgot to mention that, but whatever. She's a fan favorite, you all know her. Callian, that guy over there, is her half-brother. He's full Hyentia, and for some reason, he's still sentient mode like this. And in this last-ditch effort to save the party, he crashes straight in the Dixon, though it doesn't really do anything. After he loses that control, everybody basically has no fucking chance and they have to retreat to the Bionis. If you've been following along, you know that Shulk is basically fucking dead right now. Except he's not. Well, he was never alive. He died the same as all those other Homs in that excavation, but Zanza revived him. Knowing that information, you can be just as confused as I initially was when you see the scene of Shulk saving his friends' asses against Telethia, just like Dunban did in the beginning of the game. Thanks to the Machina technology, he was able to be revitalized and equipped with the replica Monado. Dixon shows up and trembles in awe, fearsome might! Then everyone goes inside the Bionis interior. Shulk and Ryan Bionis inside story. Not much really happens here other than Melia getting her character arc completed. By the way, play the goddamn game if you want to know stuff like that. Last stop is Prison Island, the same place where Shulk got the original Monado souped up into the Monado 2, except this time, we're here to kill God. Can you believe that the first story quest was basically delivering food to your future husband and now it's defeat Zanza? This game is great. This visit to Prison Island wraps up with Shulk and the gang beating Dixon's ass, and yes, he's actually a giant man. Now go back, I want to go into space! Boom! In space now. More specifically, our solar system. Why are we here? Because Zanza is here, and we gotta kick his ass. Zanza, more like, Zanza's? Yeah, I'm pretty funny, I know. The final battle is honestly pretty easy. I had a harder time fighting a fucking bunnet. Shulk unlocks his true Monado, and just like that, kills literally God, and rewrites the entire universe himself. Holy shit, Shulk. Anyway, this is where the game concludes, seeing Fiora's perspective on the new world, and revealing her new body. Well, that certainly took a while, didn't it? If I didn't talk about your favorite part of the game, don't cry about it, alright? I don't want to be here all day. But let's recap! Xenoblade Chronicles is an action JRPG created by Monolith Soft in 2010 as a spiritual successor to Xenogears and Xenosagas. This is a game about revenge and growing from those malicious ambitions. At least I think so. Ambitions really that were brought out by a god that was laying dormant inside of you, but that's besides the point. This game also talks about how you can make your own future on your own. Sure, you don't have the powers to see into the future like Shulky boyo over here, but in general, it's more exciting not knowing what lies ahead. That just means that you can make the future out what you want to be. That's enough about the moral lessons because honestly, who cares, right? One of my favorite games of all time. A beautiful soundtrack, combat system, world building, and having a best friend that also acts like your dad. This is Xenoblade Chronicles. Thanks for watching. Also, Ricky's fucking dancing, I can't stop thinking about it!
Now it's rhyme time!